I have also prophesied this because during the week also I had this vision. When I lost my licence for not participating with the breathalyzer, remember they arrested me, threw me over the bonnet and blah 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 and everything else, and went to court and everything else, and they took the licence off me in Vic Roads, right, which was a bit of a blessing because in some way that is an illegal instrument. It's unlawful according to the Constitution, so I knew that. So I made myself a driver's competency certificate, which is, yes, I can drive a vehicle. I could drive one before. The judge taking the licence off me didn't disable my driving abilities, right? So I'm still able to drive and everything else. So anyway, last Monday at our Burwood meeting, Matthew said to me, have you ever had cause to produce that licence or whatever it is that you made? Have you tested it? And I said, no, I haven't. And then during the week I got this thing, I'm going to test it, I'm going to test it. And I said, oh, well, peace be upon me. And so this morning when I'm driving here, I'm coming through Pakenham and just heading towards Officer, and when I'm just getting into Officer, there's an officer standing by the car with a special with a special radar that reads number plates and does a quick data research and says everything. Next thing I pull in to get a coffee just about 100 yards up the road. I pull in, I'm standing in line. Next thing I see this car pull up and I just look and he goes, so I walk over, and as I walked over, how you going? So can I see your licence? I said, I haven't got one. I said, you don't need one. He said, what do you mean you don't need one? I said, well, it's against the law, unconstitutional, and it's illegal as well. I said, I wouldn't participate with the tyranny. What are you talking about? I said, well, I've got this other thing. I said, I made myself, which I said is legal and lawful. I said, according to the Australian Constitution. So I said, here it is.
You were asking for a free number and go on.
What number was that for? Because they're all numbered, aren't they? Every year. They change every year too.
Yes, it's number of the 1900 Act, Section 92.
93.
Section 92, yeah. It tells you that no one can have a monopoly on issuing paperwork for Commonwealth administration, and also travel on the Queen's Highway must be free. You cannot charge registration, you cannot charge anyone for a licence, and you don't need a licence except if you're heavy transport, right, doing business.
And e-tags too.
Yeah, all of that, right. So it's all a corporation taxation project that has overtaken the constitutional law. So anyway, I know that, and he says, sir, you cannot drive on our roads without a Vic Roads licence. And I said, our roads? What do you mean our roads? Isn't it my roads? Isn't it all of our roads?
I thought you were a Kiwi.
No, because this is what they're actually saying.
Australian.
They're saying, I am in the corporation. It's the corporate law against the individual. There's the division. And it's our roads, our taxes, our licence, everything is to do with us, and you're breaking our code. And I said, well, isn't it our roads? We're driving on the Queen's highways and it's free travel according to the Constitution. And he goes, well, I don't know about that. I said, well, here's my identification. I said, check it out. I said, I'm a competent driver. Here's my competency certificate, verified and everything. So I said, here it is. He said, but you can't drive on the road. And he said, by the way, I just got you, your registration's expired as well. I said, well, if you check, well, the date has. I said, if you check the office, you'll find that I'm still registered. Otherwise, how would you know that the registration hasn't been paid? I said, it's still registered. I said, and I'm driving legally and lawfully, and my car is still registered. I said, I'm able to drive on these roads that belong to the Queen's people, so to speak. And so he said, well, let me have a look at your car. And he walks around it, Yeah, it looks all right. And then he says, I said to him, mate, you look like a sort of a guy that would really be switched on to the technology of what's going on in the world, and that you're probably more smart than most of these people out there who haven't got a clue what's going on. And he goes, big smile on his face, well, yeah, I suppose so, And I said, you would know that you're actually breaking the law.
He was.
Yeah, because more and more and more are the police being employed by the corporate agenda, and less are they undertaking the tasks of the constitution of law, right?
Citizens.
Yeah. And so I said, you are implementing the tasks. You're the task force of the corporation tyranny. Tyranny.
He wouldn't know what to do with you, would he?
And I said, did you know that according to the Commonwealth Constitution, that impersonating a Commonwealth officer holds a 2-year minimum jail term if you're impersonating a Commonwealth officer? Oh, well, sir, I haven't heard about this before, but I'll, check it out. And he's got the big screen up there with all my details on. And he starts writing down all these notes. And he said, now, I want you to put your signature there just to say that this is your signature. And I said, do you want my signature that I use for the bank, for the corporation, or do you want my authorisation for my sovereign identity? Which one do you want? He goes, well, it's got to match up with Vic Roads. I said, well, I don't operate under Vic Roads, but I'll just put something down here so you can check it. Oh, it's exactly spot on, exactly right. And so, I put it there. And he walks around the car and he says, yeah, it looks all right, Out of registration, no licence. Have a good day, sir. Have a great day, take care. Off I went.
Wow.
So you haven't got a fine in the post?
Well, that probably will. He says, if I do decide to follow this up, it'll be a summons in the mail. I said, do what you've got to do. I said, I know how it works. He said, all right. So if he does, he does, and I know how to deal with it. If he doesn't, it's because he realises he's operating the corporate agenda against the people, and it's a violation of our rights.
So he'll follow it up if he's curious and realise that.
Yeah, so anyway, that was just what happened on the way here.
We're fancy of that.
And so I really loved it. What an opportunity to stand in the power and not bow down to the fear that they try to instill in you for breaking their tyrannical laws. I'm not going to go into the criminal activity that you're trying to entangle me in. I'm going to stand in the rightness and truth.
I hear that you were prepared.
But even though I didn't, licences are still illegal, unlawful.
Pay a fortune with the Rego.
The Rego, I'm thinking now, maybe I've got to go into the knowledge of how to completely deal with the idea, 600 and something bucks a year to register a vehicle which is already registered. They want you to insure it. Insurance is one of the biggest scams out there. That's what they gamble on the stock exchange, people's insurance and superannuation and everything else, right? So I'm just saying there's two sides to every coin. If you comply with the tyranny, comply with the criminality, become pushed over and bulldozed by your compliance with the tyranny, you're not standing up in truth to actually oppose that which is consuming us. We've got to stand up and send shockwaves back down their system so they know they can't overrun us.
You can only stand up if you have the knowledge.
That's what I'm saying. It's through going through the ordeal that you get the knowledge and you get the boldness, you get the courage, you get the understanding.
You have to know what you're talking about.
But you see, if it happens to you, you start to do it, or you comply and you pay. That feeds their families, it feeds their agenda. It's a taxation that gets greater centralised power to bulldoze you more and more and more and more. The more people who contribute to their system, the bigger it gets.
Yeah, right. And they keep changing the laws so as nobody can know all the facts.
That's right, and they're not laws, they're regulations, they're legislations, they're codes, and they're things that are not actually given by the people.
The government.
When the government pushed through by what they call a plebiscite, the local council directive so they can operate through local councils, it wasn't the people's choice. The referendum came, they didn't choose it, it got knocked back, but they pushed it through anyway. So it's tyranny, right? See what I'm saying? So people in some form need to stand up for truth, and when you're starting to carry the frequency that we're carrying, you do it with love and you do it with compassion, you do it with understanding and knowing that they also are in the same boat as us. They're trying to make a living. Right? But they're going to find another way to make a living. But anyway, that's just two sides of the coin. So, a lot of people say you shouldn't really get involved in all that. But even this work says if you don't look at the darkness and the coding within your own anatomy, if you don't look at it and you say, oh, it's love and light, it's love and light, well, you're clueless. But when you do look at the dark aspects and you bring them into transmutation, you're dealing with those things which are affecting you and which you're drawn into, and you're able to change them. So you can run away from it all the time and say, well, God will save me, or I'll ascend. But it's like this message here is we're going to be migrating our consciousness into higher living structure, and this dead, decaying system being overrun by the Metatronic coding is dragging down a black hole. We've got to have to move off it. We've got to have to migrate our consciousness to higher dimensions. So part of it is offering help to those who are caught in it by exposing their participation. Or how are they perpetuating the corruption by, being employed by the systems that are set to ensnare all of humanity in a deeper and deeper entrenchment?
I just need to be informed.
Tell them. I said to these guys, I said, both of you guys look like you're pretty awake up as to what's going on. He said, oh, we leave that to our legal department. No, I said, no, that's another matter. I said, I just want to talk to you two guys, to show you what's going on in the world so you can take a look for your families, for your future, what's going on. I said it very nicely, right? So they can have a look at it. Because if you don't, it says even the biblical thing, and even this teaching says you are to stand in the truth and point out the error of their ways. Stop and correct. Stand and correct. Because the sin of omission is the same as the sin of commission. If you do not correct your brother along the way and show him the error, how he's participating with the black hole agenda, he will continue to perpetuate it, and he'll draw many into his system.
It's tricky though, because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
He does until he's told.
To say that we have the right.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that
soul might be on their journey.
Yeah, they're on their journey to learn, but they're learning how to drag more into the black hole fall. And the thing is, if we stand in the truth and point out, this is what's going on, oh, right, well, what should I do? Well, you connect, you do your own regenesis, and you participate in the awakening rather than in the darkening. Right. So standing in it, so it's a two-sided coin. We can do all the work and technology of ascension, but at the same time, we stand as the knowledge of the truth. So our brothers, our sisters can see the error of their ways in the light of the truth.
Bringing awareness in.
Yeah.
What about those that need a law of some sort to keep them in line, if you like? I don't know how to describe what I'm thinking, but
the structures that actually generate a moral constraint.
yeah.
That will work for them. It's the law of sowing and reaping. It's the law of karma. It's the law of, what you put out comes back. But unless they know the principle involved there, they won't know it's causing their demise. Right? It says the law is here for the lawless. So there is a law put in place, and it's for the lawless.
Yeah, that's really the angle I'm getting to, that one.
So there's a law for the lawless until the law of life works in you. So the law is given to lead you to the schoolmaster, and the schoolmaster is the spirit.
Sure.
So in their crushing, in their demise, they cry out for truth, and they start to find it in themselves. But if they're all under the crushing, and no one's teaching them, no one's showing them what they're doing to themselves and to others, it's just going to be, it's like what's happening in the planet. Yeah. The black hole, Merkaba Death Star reality, 55 Metatronic spin, that's siphoning everything into black hole 4. It's increasing in frequency. So people are becoming a new creation, but they're becoming genetically coded into the Metatronic system of death, death, death.
And then they'll go through the black hole though, and they'll rebirth.
No. They'll go through the black hole into total encapsulation. And no, they'll go right through black hole into annihilation, because in the black hole there's only a siphoning system that's robbing other living matrices, right?
Is there only one black hole?
There's many black holes. It's like little fibrils going everywhere into the living systems, drawing it in. So
There's many black holes, but the black holes have one agenda.
yeah, the black hole,
The same agenda.
same agenda, but the different race lines running different operations. It's just like Illuminati. That family's running this business, this family's running this business. They're all different alien intruder race line genetics, running their own little business and operations and rackets in systems, right? So all of it's sucking energy down black hole.
But it still would also ultimately be under the authorship of God's allowance.
Exactly, God allows it, and the authorship is you can regenerate, and here's the peaceful co-evolution of all peace. Come into an organic regenerating structure and receive your upgrade codes in a hosting system. And they say, oh yes, that's a good idea, and they come. Some will say, no, I can't hear that yet. So anything that goes down black hole inevitably is going into implosion, space dust, return into annihilation of self-identity reality, getting less and less and less and less integrity. No, that's the New Age teaching of, through the black hole we have regenesis. No, black hole in that magnitude is annihilation, space dust, return. It's going into death. It needs regenerating. The structure needs regenerating to bring it into perpetual motion.
But Grant, there is a darkness that you can go into, and then, as you said, coming out the other side, it's then on a different cycle, isn't it?
Well, that's a part of the teaching, I believe, is a false hope black hole restoration. If you're going down black hole, it means you're being sucked into consummate, you're being consumed.
Yeah, you're saying the black hole, I'm saying
There's a
something
popular
different.
theory, the black hole, you're going to get reborn or rebirth.
Yeah, that's a very big distortion
It's very,
field.
very popular.
Very big distortion field, because a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm going down the black hole, and that's where I'm going to be rebirthed. No, that is the way to space dust return. Regenesis is coming back into a perpetual motion life structure where there's toing and froing through the yan yu nay flows of regenesis, where everything is organic and moving together as one life. The black hole is the distortion that's entangled itself into our systems here.
If you explore black hole in its absolute context, and you just sort of go, okay, everything becomes consumed by a black hole, and everything is in this massively reductive state that is reduced to its absolute, most compressed and reduced. Where does it go from there? It's like it can only reach an absolute end to some extent that in the end still has to be resolved in life, which demands expansion. And so that the absolute end of the black hole, there has to be a resolution that is reconciled to life force, to God.
Exactly.
In the end.
Exactly.
That's what I'm getting at.
It is.
Thank
But
you, Hayden. That's exactly
what the teaching says is, if you're going in upward spirals of consciousness, evolution of self-identity, you're gaining greater and greater experience into the life system. If you're going down in spiraling, decaying systems, you're actually losing your life force energy and becoming diminished in your expression as a form. We hold a form here as a human, we can evolve into angelic form and up.
So
if you go down, it can be less and less and less and less, giving less returns of quantum generation and identity. You're losing your identity as an entity. You're losing more and more of your integrity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that bad? We're becoming one with God anyway.
No, but what I'm saying is, we came into space-time matrices to build our entity, reality, identity. So that was the expanding idea into full organic system. If you go into black hole diminishment, even though those particles will be reused through creation point door and restructuring living systems, as that kind of material gets emerged out, the entity that you used to be has actually gone to nothingness, and you'll be recreated using those particles as something else coming out through time cycles in matrices. Well, through the birthing from creation point door.
Well, so then you're saying that through black hole that there is actually rebirth too.
But
It's a reincarnation.
there's nothing lost in the economy of God's source.
No.
So our best intention is to take the entity, identity that we've got now and build on it in consciousness, evolution and expansion of perpetual motion life structures.
If that's your destiny.
If that's your destiny.
If you're part of that true vine,
that's right.
that prune tree that's growing into
right.
that. But if you're part of the prunings,
yes,
and you go into the black hole, that isn't despair.
No.
That's actually just a portal, which is what you're saying.
It will come back into reconstitution in some form.
Into something else, because
It's
everything's God in the end.
like that's the finish of this cycle, isn't it? And you've gone into that black hole, and it's another cycle that you're...
That, like a birth canal process,
Yes,
the popular
yes.
thought that you're talking about, that ultimately that's what you will be birthed through and reconciled to in this reductive process. But what I hear Grant saying is that in this we have an opportunity as part of the true vine, the living structures that are in this expansive mode, that we actually are building on the identities that we have now and their integration into this aspect of creation. But in hearing all of this, there is no fear in the black hole because everything is held.
There's no fear except for those who have separated from Source and are doing their very best to infiltrate living systems because they fear that death that they are uncertain about. Now, the reconstitution was going to be sorted out through time, and there's a lot just infiltrating more living systems to delay the inevitable of their own reduction and coming out through creation point door as something else. Now, in this teaching, there's three states that they talk about, which is the Kali Krista, which is Christ ascension process, which a lot of us would probably know a little bit about, and there's the Kali Rama step back. In other words, okay, we're falling into a decaying system. Our intention has always been for Christ's ascension. We go into the ring of fire as an element, melts of elements, and then we get birthed out into what we call the edons and the radons, where we are now, the radonic energy forms. So you get birthed back out with a regenesis pattern. There's also the Kali Dima, which is a Christic path, which some people are going down and down and down. Their coding is so weak in the Christic reality, but they still are going down in peace, in love, in joy, going down. And right before they come into space dust, they get carried around into creation point door and regenerated into their original integrity because of all of us who held a memory of them before they come into a full state. So we're holding memory. And also, those who go into space dust return, which are those who are totally uncoded with any Christic form, they're going into space dust, but there's still a membrane around the space dust that can contain part of their constitution, which, in my opinion, it's not the exact teaching, but in my opinion, if all of us are in the beginning and we all said to one another, I will support you no matter which path we take, because we're all members one of another. Therefore, even those parts that go down into space dust return, as they quickly regenerate, we're holding a memory because we want to see those parts come back into reconstitution.
So all things will be reconciled.
All things will be reconciled in time, different ways, different forms. And there are some who are leading the way in the ascension process. There are some who know they're being coded down different pathways of fall, etc. Sovereign fall or whatever.
The Haris believe that everyone comes back in the golden age, those that have chosen that first path. Then there's the second, the silver age, and then there's the dark Kali Yuga.
Yeah, there's a lot of traditions, there's a lot of teachings.
So you're going to incarnate until that time.
Yeah, but see, every time you reincarnate, you're diminishing your quantum. And every time you come into a new body, you've got less energy to overthrow the controls of the body, to re-establish yourself. Because you're diminishing in energy. Especially,
you can't go around the wheel and you get less.
but can you imagine now, in this particular space-time situation we're in, where Metatronic coding has become rampant on the planet, and it's consuming everything and bringing it into a harness of black hole full technology. To get off this and fulfill our Christic pathway, we need to get the right frequency to transcend it, so that we can actually help others to come back into it.
And that's what really we're all doing.
That's what we want to do, is the Kali Krista ascension process.
Well, yeah.
Or if not, if we've chosen another path, we still want to have peace, we still want to work the Christic agenda no matter what we're doing.
I think everyone wants peace, they just...
Yeah, that's what I saw in these police officers today.
Of course.
And I saw, because in my mind I'm saying, no matter what, even though this guy is operating a corporation agenda,
Who's that
I
guy?
have the compassion to see his hope. He's got family, he's got friends, he's got a job, he needs to support himself in this situation. He can't help what he's doing because that's how he's sustaining himself, right? So
So it's not dark.
I look with eyes of love to see love shining there. And he saw the love shining in me, and he's quite nice with me.
And that's what we're going to go.
You know, so we are here to help everyone, no matter what path they've chosen, to help everyone come into a reconstitution. But we've got to be strong in ourselves to lift up ourselves into that high frequency so we can help others come into it.
I have come across in my life two people that really, really, really were, to use the wrong term, but evil, if you like, and tried to pull me down. And I was able, in both cases, just to send them love, and it dissolved the whole episode twice.
Yeah.
It was like the first one was diabolical, it really was really bad. And for some reason I saw the love and had the compassion for this guy. It was like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, but it was truly forgiving them. Like it came from my heart. It
wasn't
like,
lip
oh, you
service.
don't know what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah, they're unaware.
They were
And
unaware.
that
it
goes back to the
dissolved.
Bible once again, Ephesians 6:12. It says, we war not against flesh and blood, but against the powers and principalities and rulers of darkness and wickedness in heavenly and high places. We're not warring against one another,
No.
but those energies that run rampant through our templates that are causing destruction, that's what our real enemy is, as far as we want to clear that out. We want to bless that being to find their own true Christic reality.
And in the end, I mentally thanked that soul for presenting that to me so that I could learn and grow from it.
Yeah, that's great.
And then it happened a second time, and I did it, and it all just all dissipated. And I thought, right, are you testing me? When it came a second time,
I found very good friends through standing with Eyes of Love. Like we had a boarder, he used to board with us, and he got very, very angry and aggressive at me for some reason. His own issue, right? And he was screaming and carrying on, like a madman, And I just stood there and looked at him with compassion. Next minute, he became your friend.
And it dissolves it. It's incredible stuff.
He'll become your friend.
I didn't realise what I was doing and what the outcome would be. I just really felt compassionate for him because I could see he was suffering through all this anger and hate that he was holding.
He doesn't know what's causing his actions. He doesn't know what's been programming him to make him into that instrument.
Gosh, we get some interesting lessons, don't we?
You know, during the Second World War in Poland, there's this guy. He was looking after children, orphans. Like he had 136 orphans in his house, looking after them in the middle of that war. The atrocities that were going on in that place. And he had this attitude when the German soldiers came to round up everyone, take them away. His mind was, they too have a heart of love, and he would look at them with a heart of love, and they would say, "Oh, nobody here." They couldn't see what was in there, because he gave them a heart of love, and they had a heart of love back, and off they went to the next one.
Amazing. It works.
Yes, we need to improve our mental telepathy, don't we? The dogs and cats and birds and all that.
It's more than
You get on
mental.
well with it.
It's heart love.
It's heart.
It's so deep.
It's heart stuff.
Yeah.
You've really got this language that's caused us a lot of trouble. Mental telepathy is the way. I was thinking that, the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
And all the people then had the same mind.
That's right.
Same thought.
They could reach the heavens.
They had the thought telepathy. That's what had to be shattered. And they had
The control doctrine shattered their language so that they couldn't communicate. Split their genetic structure.
And that's what's happened to us. We've got all these different languages. We're shattered. We can't communicate properly with the cats, or the dogs, or the trees, or anything anymore. But they can still communicate with us.
Until you get to a stage that you can communicate with them.
It takes practice.
Okay. So it's interesting, isn't it?
It's
As we communicate with the heart.
It just goes on and on, doesn't it? It's incredible.
We were talking about animals yesterday, and the lovely Tanishka, who was with us, was pointing out how that this empathy that you're talking about, this telepathy amongst the creatures, birds, those sorts of things, and how you can see it in demonstration, that they know exactly when to move in this
Like a
unison.
pack.
Yeah, like the pack or the herd or the flock that's in the air. And
The hive mind, yeah.
and that it's actually a heart energy. It's that empathetic heart energy. That one heart, they all know exactly where to move. And we were in a space together yesterday where we were feeling that with ourselves and just sort of going, you can tell when we're in the flow. As we are here, and you sort of go, yeah, you can feel that this ego's gone and we're back in the heart, you know, and it's the most beautiful thing that is so freely available for us, and it's just here now, all the time in our hearts, you know, and it's a great blessing.
It's like-mindedness, really. That's what we tend to say, you know, we're like-minded people. All the same soul, same feelings,
And light-hearted.
or same aims.
Yeah, well, the heart and the mind are one. You know, the heart is the husband, the mind is the wife. Whatever the seeding of the heart goes to the womb of the mind, you birth that as an expression. So they work together.
The language.
Yeah, it's all, the whole system of the anatomy is amazing.
It is amazing, totally amazing, and yet when you come up against something, you know it's right, don't you?
I know. You know,
Yes,
something
exactly
beyond words.
that.
Something. I was in New Zealand, my mum's 80th birthday, a while ago, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. I was over there, and I remember an experience I had at Ayers Rock, where some women said to me, "Grant, get up with us at sunrise. We're going to look at the sun coming up." And she told me, when you look at the sun, you'll see a little shield go around the sun, so it's not going to damage your eyes. Next thing, this little silver shield goes around there, looking at the colours coming in. And then when I sort of close my eyes and open them again, it's like all the pastel colours all around you. It's like amazing feeling and energy. And then when I was going on the ferry from Manhattan across to Staten Island in 2005, I'm going across on the ferry, and it's like the Statue of Liberty's there, and the sun was just setting here. And the inspiration said, remember the power that you felt at Uluru. And next thing, I breathed in that light, and there was a young guy standing about 3 or 4 people away, and I could read his mind. He's saying, I wish I knew what was going on. And I just went, poof, and his energies went out and over and touched him. Next thing, his hands shot up like this, right? And he started speaking in different language. And he said, why did you come here? I said, for you, right? And there was a few of us here in a group, and we all started getting the same joining, right? It's energy, it's life, it's light. But when I was in New Zealand, a place called Hanma Springs, there's a thing called Conical Mountain. And it's like a cone of a mountain, and there's pine trees up it, and you walk up this pathway up to a lookout. And about sunset, I'm sitting there halfway up the track, and I'm just doing some breathing the sun energy, and I'm singing Ira Sharadika Sheta Amira Pranachi, and I'm walking up the rest of the track, and then there's a couple walking down the track, and I said, stop. Why are you flying up the track? It's like I'm going uphill, like
A bird.
And not touching down.
yeah, and it's like, because I said, I want to join with the trees, I want to join with the sun, I want to join with everything, and the next thing, I was just flying. And it's like, yeah, it's like when you get into that energy, into that field, it's beyond the gravity, it's beyond the distortions, it's just something marvelous.
And the practices you were doing got you to that stage.
The song, the frequency, the sun, the trees, the air, the breath,
Nature.
up the mountain.
Yes, in Mother Earth.
So we can't explain some things. You don't want to, do you?
I see a lot of beings without feet. They glide along.
Yeah, that's my dreams. I can scoot around in my dreams. Yeah.
What do you put under your pillow night? Hot water?
Hot water.
Harry Potter.
No, I wouldn't do Harry Potter, mate. That's magic. That's distortion field. Yeah.
Hot water?
He meant that.
No, I see what you mean. I thought you meant Harry Potter.
No,
It makes the flash.
Whole water. No. you got full encryption. Actually, you know, if you put these kind of things under your pillow, and even the, you know, the K1, 2, K3, K4 manuals, which you know they're about that thick, you lay them under your bed and say, I want to receive all of the knowledge, information, layer upon layer, to come into my vessel. You start bringing it in. Start bringing it in. Any new CDs, DVDs that come out, put them beside the bed and let the pattern emanate into your being at night when you're sleeping. All of those kind of things. Nothing is impossible.
Sometimes if I've been in a deep meditation and I'll get up from it, I've actually looked down at my feet because I've felt airborne.
Yeah.
You know, you
That's
think,
a check, yeah.
am I walking? Am I touching down? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's like you're so filled with light that, like you going up the mountain.
Well, people can levitate in meditations, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to practice that more.
Yeah, well,
They're the cities, don't they? They're called the cities.
the cities, yeah.
Cities.
Yeah, but there's lots of different trainings in it. With this one, it says we bring ourselves back into one super atom of our whole essence in the pineal gland, and we fold our body up into a single point of light, transport ourselves in any living system and remanifest in any form we want to.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's just working within the living structure, knowing the whole construct of your being and having it under control of your own self-consciousness, that you can fold up into one atom, boom, gone into the flows of, you know, integration throughout the whole structure and appear any space-time, any matrix where you have self-identity key codes that you've had through inheritance, through walking in the land.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through a black hole to do that.
No, black holes are totally alien, they're intrusion. A black hole, white hole vortex energy sets between particle and antiparticle universe are organic because there is an exchange, black hole, white hole, in the subparticles of the atoms and everything. There's all that communication between particle and antiparticle, constantly communicating. But when it gets into the magnitude of a wormhole where one matrix is sucking energy from another, that's a totally distorted field that is here to be healed.
But maybe they're only in the third dimension.
No, they go up right up to 15 dimensions. Yeah, but they go right up, because as we're learning with the plasma flows, some of the higher dimensional structures right up to first creation fall, which is the blue-white spherical energy. You know, the suns, the seven sons of the seven suns, the first full white dragon team was actually a full race line that happened right up in the high dimensional structure. So they created synthetic facsimile plasma flows that distorted other lower densities.
So where did they come from?
They came from source, and they're part of the original encryption.
The positive thing, the dragons.
Yeah, the Dragoons was an original race line that was created to reset codes in fallen structures, but then they themselves got, like the Iani, they got pulled into fall structure themselves and became a fall, like White Dragon Fall. So the Dragoons had codes to regenerate fallen structure, but they got sucked into it and encumbered by it. So it's part of it, you see. So these are original intention helpers that came in to help restore things that got sucked into the vortex. Right? So, yeah. So it goes very, very high dimension, very deep. So we're here to regenerate structure, and that's why now we're pulling in what we call the Alhambra Magistracy Councils, which are the crystalline structure, like a skin around the entire creation, and the deep internal realities of the inner kingdom that work in and through all space-time matrices. It's the override fail-safe mechanism that's now being implemented here in this galaxy and other galaxies in this universe. Because this whole universe has got pockets of decay in many galaxies here. And it's connected to a parallel adjacent black hole falling matrix, which is siphoning energy from here, from what we call the antiparticle side. The antiparticle side was the alpha. The particle side, the completion of their agenda, is the omega. So the alpha omega is a black hole race line agenda. Yeah, so all of those codes go right back to ancient times when that agenda was set on the planet through the pyramid powers and everything else as a distortion field and a siphoning set up through the priesthoods and everything else.
But they thought they were a positive thing.
Well, no, they taught that they were a positive thing, even though they were coded through race line 4, intruder race lines. And those priesthoods, they had corruption mechanisms that
They
There's,
didn't know. They must have
some of them didn't know completely, like we don't know.
Yeah.
Like we don't know that we are perpetuating the agenda by our normal activities. We don't know. We think this system is true. You know, we get birthed into here thinking it's true because we get taught that it's true.
Yeah.
But if you can rewrite history, if you don't rewrite history, you'll repeat history. And history is a record of distortion that's been put in place. History. The mystery is concealed in the history. The mystery is Christ in you, your hope of glory. It's your story that's been taught to you, and you've embodied, and that's your world, and that's the distortion, that's the death, that's the decay. So every priesthood here got usurped, and they were starting to teach distortion fields to all the people who thought it was true. Right? And we still think it's true, some of us, to some degree.
Actually, I know all that, I know.
Mm.
I wondered why though she uses all of the different ancient Atlantean, Egyptian and all the old texts and says that they're all wrong.
Yeah, because
she doesn't bring in base her information she does really on her own separate teachings.
I think when you see it,
she uses all the old.
When you see the old texts and how they were controlling people through priesthoods and through their technologies, and then in the light of the CDT plates and the Alhambra magistracy, or the Kumaya Alhambra text, you can see that the distortions came in through the administration of the teachers.
We'd have to go back there into one of our past life things to know whether that was right.
Yeah, well, that's why we're going back time travel. We can time travel back to every moment in time to correct the distortion fields of our own template. In our incarnations, past, present and future, we can do it now, in the now moment. We can oversee the whole process, right, to regenerate.
If we thought it was wrong.
Well, you only think it's wrong in the light of the knowledge of your reconnection to source. You say, oh, right, I can see in the light of that new energy coming in that this distortion here needs to be transmuted. And that's a record in the archiving of this bodysuit that is actually, through history, a distortion field. I can see it in the light of the truth. I couldn't see it in the darkness because I think it's true. But in the light, of the truth, I can see the distortion. Well, like you were talking about it, see, so they came to get some healing. Do you know what I'm saying? In the light of the truth, the darkness can be brought to life. Dispel the darkness. What do witches do? They cast spells. They're spelling with signatures of writing. They're using tonal signatures to create something distorted in the fields of the hologram that are causing an advantage to them and a disadvantage to others. They are spelling, creating spells, casting spells. They're casting.
Putting their will onto something.
Yeah, and that is witchcraft, which is distortion, which is rearranging the hologram to extract energy for themselves.
I think that's with Bloom's Bloom's taxonomy of textology, where it's the distortion of words and how which the teachers are being taught to corrupt all the children. So that works like Stein and Monticello and put away, it's not good. Bloom's taxonomy. I was talking about it on today, so it just come out of the university, Victorian University. And, thank you for that. And I said, you're going to teach you're going to teach children their natural abilities, or show them their natural and let them perform their psychic abilities. She said, oh, no, that's not what we taught today. I said, no, that's not what you taught today. But that's what you should do.
They don't know themselves. So how could they teach the children? They've been set the curriculum by the higher levels of controllers that step down through compartmentalisation, the instigation of the agenda to encapsulate the children more and more. So every generation that comes along is more and more dark and shut down. But the special children that are coming in, incarnating into the planet today, they're actually starting to overthrow those controls. Right? So our prayers are for those young children who are here to perform a very beautiful function and a role to help to awaken humanity, to set our prayer of protection around them, to wash away the darkness of interfering frequencies around their mind, and to enable them to know their true function and purpose, and to nurture them up into a place of power. Right?
The teachers do set spells and spelling on
Yeah.
kids.
Oh, yeah. The whole language thing is a spelling. It's a spelling.
Mm. Well, yeah,
And just like the reading.
I've still got half a peppermint here, and enjoying a lot of sandwich.
Great teacher. What years used to get?
I used to be teaching grade 3 and 4.
Yep.
And in 3s and 4s, I used their system and changed it.
Yeah.
So that they got their 3 hours, so they couldn't get good with that. They couldn't complain. But I inculcated in how the community works and lives in a living community. So they actually made the money. They were the bankers. They were the police. They were the cleaners. They were the shopkeepers. They were the lawmakers. They were everything. These little kids had about 6 haircuts on their heads. And they knew how the whole system worked. What they needed then was a follow-up of somebody to teach them, okay, now these are other things you need to know to upset this system that we've got. That is a bad system. But I wasn't knowledgeable enough then.
Oh, no, indeed. Grade 3
Nobody
and 4
was.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But certainly shook the parents up.
Even just being in the room, people have been.
Then when I had DIs come in and say, what do the kids do? And I said, well, go up and ask them. And they'd be talking about partnerships and all sorts.
It's not on the curriculum. That's not on the curriculum.
How about?
Those kids.
All right, shut me up.